All right, here we go. Welcome into the RTI Reaction Show. Ryan Shumpert, Rick Butler, standing here on the field after Tennessee's home opener, a win over in-state foe ETSU by a score of 72-17. Ryan, this was a game where Tennessee was able to jump on the Bucks early. Part of that was because of Star Thomas's hat trick of touchdowns in the first half.
Yeah, for sure. He was certainly not alone in Tennessee players that found the end zone today, and in the first half especially. So a good start from Tennessee in this game. They went right down the field, got the opening kickoff, went right down the field, scored a touchdown. Some drives stalled out in the red zone that I'm sure Josh Heupel wasn't too pleased about, but 3 and outs in the first 5 possessions for ETSU. They didn't get a first down until about 19 minutes into the game. Boo Carter had a couple long punt returns that set up short touchdown drives. So some complimentary football from both sides. And yeah, Tennessee did what they've really done in Josh Heupel's tenure, which was really put up some crazy numbers and beat the dog crap out of really overmatched teams.
Joey Aguilar on the night again, getting his second start here at the University of Tennessee. 288 yards and 2 touchdowns, one of those being to Mike Matthews in the end zone that is right behind us right here. A crazy play that he described after the game is, he was trying to get it to Mike Matthews, but had a lot of trust in his receiver to go get that. Mike Matthews, who, by the way, had a nice game for himself. 6 catches on 6 targets, a perfect percentage there, 111 yards, and that touchdown that we mentioned. Then also we'll hit on Chris Brazzell just real quick while we're getting the stats. 125 yards from him and 2 touchdowns. Those 2 guys combining for a big number here against the Bucks.
For sure. I think Matthews is good to see after he kind of had a little bit of a quiet debut a week ago. And yeah, that long touchdown, it's kind of a no, yes play. I'm not sure, if Aguilar's going to get away with that all the time this season. But yeah, that's a little bit of his game. He's got a little bit of a Brett Favre to him. He's a gunslinger. That's what we heard about him coming in. And he showed that tendency, I feel like, more today than we saw it last week. So, big play. And I think Josh Heupel talked about it. Mike Matthews, the coverage was dictating to go to Brazzell earlier. He said just the opposite side, which is naturally Brazzell early, and they tried to make an emphasis to give him the ball some in the second quarter. And certainly he made those opportunities count. Brazzell, who, he should have had an easy touchdown on the first drive of the second half.
Yeah.
Mark Leger underthrew it. He makes kind of a sliding catch at the 1-yard line. They roll the touchdown, comes back. And I'm thinking, man, this poor guy is going to have 2 touchdowns called back in the first 2 games of the season. And, Tennessee usually in those instances just, runs the ball in from 1-yard line. They threw a little goal line fade to him. So he got his touchdown either way. So a nice day for both those receivers. A little bit more of a quiet day for Neyland Stadium, but didn't matter any of this one.
Well, and what I like about Aguilar's deep throws too is he gives his guys a chance to go get it, and that's I think that speaks to something, and I'm sure that's something his receivers like as well. Joey Aguilar also kind of operated that 2-minute drill late in the first half. Tennessee got it down, and I believe that ended with one of Star Thomas's 3 first-half touchdowns. And then just kind of rounding out the offense as you go to the second half, and obviously they opened up the bench a little bit. There was at one point where I believe it was Jake Merklinger was working with a lot of freshmen. I believe all skill players are freshmen, from receivers, tight end, and running back as well. But Jake Merklinger got some reps in the third quarter. Obviously, George McIntyre came in for a little bit in the fourth quarter. Josh Heupel said after the game that he liked what those guys did. He liked how they operated in the limited time that they did. But obviously, in a game like this, right, where it is lopsided and where it is an outpouring of offense, it's good to get these things going, and it's good for Tennessee to kind of see what they have in some of these younger guys. And it might not be against the greatest competition, but you still get to go out there, get your feet wet, see what you have out there. Josh Heupel mentioned, I believe it was at halftime, we wrote about it on the website, that there were some things to clean up. So again, even in a game where it is 72-17, I think the team can take a lot of positives and take a lot of learning experiences out of what they saw.
For sure. I think the 2 quarterbacks is kind of where the eyes really naturally go. And yeah, the first touchdown drive, I honestly didn't think Merklinger looked very good. He had a ball that should have been intercepted, but his next 2 drives, I did think he looked sharp and threw the ball well and accurately. Made a couple plays, extending a couple drives with his feet. And McIntyre just got 1 drive, but he looked good and I believe completed 6 to 7 passes, if I'm not mistaken. One of those being to Tommy Winton on like a 3rd and 12 type play, a good throw in the intermediate. So again, like you said, it's ETSU, nothing you're going to just be bullish over, but those guys looked solid. Again, especially after that Merklinger first drive, he looked a little dicey there. But after that, I felt like the quarterback play was solid in the second half.
Defensively, not too much to speak of in this one.
Well, really last offensively, David Sanders doesn't play in this game. After Josh Heupel made it sound like he would back late last week, kind of made it sound like, he almost could have played against Syracuse. So we'll see. He didn't say a ton other than the doctors didn't clear him. Yeah, and we'll talk about it more later in the week. But I mean, just going to be an interesting decision making. Even if he is cleared to play next week, are you going to have his first start be against Georgia as a true freshman? How much do you want to play him? The offensive line has played well to this point with Jesse Perry at right tackle, Wendell Moy at right guard, and then Shamu Murad filling that spot at left guard. But the challenge gets a lot greater for everybody against Georgia next week. So that's going to be an interesting situation, I think, over the course of this week. And I'll be curious to see, one, if Sanders gets cleared, because I think now it's a little bit more of a worrisome situation, missing 2 games, and 2, if he does, how Tennessee handles things.
Defensively, I didn't think there were too many talking points that you can take away from it. Obviously, we'll talk about what we can. First-team offense came down, and there were a lot of 3-and-outs consecutively to start the game for the Buccaneers offense. They really took care of things. I don't know, 17 points on the board. One of those was just a 5-yard kind of almost a gift of a touchdown when Tennessee had the miscommunication, missed snap between, I believe it was Sam Pendleton and Joey Aguilar, the fumble that set up the Buccaneers right on the doorstep of the end zone. But again, just kind of like what we talked about with the offense, a good opportunity to get guys in. I know we were sitting up there in the press box talking, hey, there's a guy here, and there's a guy there, and there's a guy there. A lot of guys were able to rotate into this game, get some valuable playing time.
Yeah, I think really maybe to me most interesting thing, just from a personnel note, Jalen McMurray, at least that I saw, strictly at star. None at corner. I think we felt like with some of Tennessee's injuries at corner, they might not strictly use him at corner and not star, but maybe slide him out there and play him a little more at that spot and open up some snaps for Boo Carter. Not really the case. Kind of the same deal as last week. 2 drives for Jalen McMurray, 1 drive for Boo Carter. 2 drives McMurray, 1 for Boo Carter. So I'll be curious to see what that looks like. Ty Redmond, Colton Hood, as expected, had good games, built off impressive openers against Syracuse. So what you wanted to see from those guys. And Tennessee's first-team defense was overwhelming, as you'd expect. Josh Josephs had a sack. Tyree West had a sack. It's good for West. With Weathersby was out, West got more snaps today. And certainly he didn't have a great opener a week ago. So good from the defense. I'm sure some things they'll like to clean up with they got into the 3rd and 4th string a little bit more, but not a ton to glean from what the defense did today.
Yeah, Joshua Joseph just looks like he's going to be a problem this year. And we'll see how he stacks up when Tennessee faces their first true competition in the SEC with Georgia next week right here in this same building. We're going to be talking about that a lot more next week. But last thing I wanted to mention, at least on my side of things.
I was going to say something on Joseph real quick.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, he played a lot of snaps last year, and he had 2 sacks all last year, and he's got 2 in 2 games now. So we were wondering if he could take that step as a pass rusher. You're right, what he does in SEC games is going to be more important, but it feels like he is well on his way to making that step.
One of the funnier parts of the game, too, is when Max Gilbert hit his 53-yard field goal, and Joshua Joseph was maybe the first guy out there on the field.
Emptied the clip.
Yeah, he did. He had a great celebration for Gilbert, who, by the way, is a funny story about the cookies, and you can go check that out over on the Rocky Top Insider YouTube channel. Last thing for me real quick is just that we did get to see Boo Carter take a couple of punt returns early in the game. He looked electric. Now, that gave Tennessee some great field position. That was something that Tennessee's offensive players talked about after the game. That's a position that you want to be. But Boo Carter looked good with the ball in his hands. Obviously, that's nothing new to us.
Yeah.
And that's nothing new to the people who have been watching Tennessee football. But again, just kind of interesting things that are developing and kind of coming together here early in the season. We'll see how those things shake out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think probably where you were going with the other games going on, Florida loses to South Florida.
That's right.
Alex Golish gets a big win in the Swamp. And then earlier today, Syracuse had some trouble with Connecticut, but got that win in overtime. So a lot of games going on right now connected to Tennessee. And some of those teams looking good. Oklahoma early lead, Mississippi State early lead. But, we won't. You're probably watching the Saturday games are finished, so we won't draw any conclusions from that. But, I feel like this happens often where you have big week 1 and maybe week 2 is a much softer slate and nobody's really excited for it. You get some fun upsets and some fun matchups, and certainly that has been the case so far today.
It's been a chaotic start to the college football season. Not so much for Tennessee, though. Handled business through the first 2 games. And again, big test coming up next week right here in Neyland Stadium as Tennessee welcomes in Georgia, who just got through with Austin Peay a little while ago earlier in the day. It's going to be it for us today. Again, number 22, Tennessee picks up the 72-17 win over ETSU right here in Knoxville. This is Ryan Shumpert. I'm Rick Butler. Thanks for listening to the RTI Reaction.